Hey, and welcome back to Bali Life Unfiltered. Today we have a very special guest, Anya from Legal Legends Indonesia.
Yeah.
So if you guys are thinking of moving here, this is the perfect episode for you.
And Anya, you're originally from Bali. You've
Yes.
been working at Legal Legends for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
You work with clients with visas, kitas, or notary services.
Correct.
And your previous experience is within banking.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah? So you
yeah.
have lots of experience with documentation,
Correct.
regulatory processes, and so you're clued up.
Yeah.
On all
Yeah,
things. So,
sort of, kinds of like that. So, yeah, you already know that I was in banking sectors for 11 years.
Yeah.
And then COVID came
Mm.
and hit Bali, quite changed a lot of sectors in Indonesia, including Bali. So then I tried to look for another opportunities and I landed here.
Yeah.
Legal Legends Indonesia.
Yeah, amazing. And you're happy there?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
enjoy your
course.
job.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. We're very happy to have you here. We just have a couple of listener questions
Yeah.
that people sent in. I'm just going to tell you what they are because we're going to deep dive into them as we go through.
Okay.
So somebody said, I'm considering moving to Bali with my husband and 2 kids. We both work remotely. What visa is best for us?
So as long as the person is working for overseas company, the spouse, both of them can apply for nomad kitas. And the good thing is with nomad kitas now, they can sponsor kids. So the kids will come with family kitas, be the dependent of the mother and father.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's good. Well, actually is kind of our next question. Does Bali have a visa for digital nomads? So like you just discussed, yes, it does.
Yes.
Yep.
There is some requirements for that. Like you need to provide 12 months bank account, which the balance should be equivalent with 60,000 US dollars. And then just a normal requirements like passport and then address in Indonesia, your employment contract with overseas company.
Yes, okay, so you must have proof of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And we get a lot of questions, obviously, about starting businesses here, which we'll go into shortly. But what about working in Bali? So some people are electricians back where they are, and they ask if they can come over and be an electrician, which I think is quite tricky.
Yeah, for having a job in Indonesia. Actually, only the one thing that you need to apply before starting to have a job in Indonesia, you need to have the work permit. So the work permit, it's different with the kitas itself, the working kitas, but it's attached. So when someone wants to work in Indonesia, she must be employed by Indonesian company or a PTPMA. And then the company must provide with the company's documents, and then from her side, like personal information, then start with the work permit. So this is where the document is issued and approved by the Manpower Ministry. So once the work permit is issued, this will be the underlying to then submit the kitas application to the immigration. So 2 types of documents, which means if you don't have the work permit or INTA, we called it in Indonesia, you are not legally able to work or gain income.
And would you say it's difficult for foreigners to get certain jobs here?
For that questions, basically for foreigners, they can have a job from managerial positions with general manager, directors. So the limitation is about the job position itself. The job position itself.
Yeah, okay. More senior roles.
Yeah.
So we wanted to start off with talking about visas overall.
Yeah.
To give people an idea of what visa options are available here. So for someone that is thinking of moving to Bali, what are the general visa options for someone?
The general visa options. Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit difficult and easy to answer because like when you want to visit Bali, first thing you need to be honest with yourself, like what I'm going to do in Indonesia. And then from there, then you go with what I'm going to come only for one stay or, a single entry and multiple entry. So if you're going to stay for 30 days. You can come with visa on arrival because it can be extended to get another 30 days. Or if you want to stay longer, like for 60 days, for 60 days, you can apply for C1. Valid for totally resulting to stay in Indonesia for 180 days. But once you arrive in Indonesia, it's only valid for 60 days. So you need to extend it again to time extension.
Yep.
Yeah.
And is that easy to do? How does somebody do that?
The visa on arrival is easier to do.
Yep.
Because if you apply for C1, you're going to need a sponsor.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Normally, the agent will be the
Organise
sponsor.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to go onto another visa to stay longer, do they have to leave Bali and do it offshore, or can they do it onshore? So say they do want to get a key test.
A key test, yeah.
eventually.
So here is the thing: when the person already in Indonesia with a visa, and if he wants to apply another visa, it cannot be done on shore, so he has to leave and then apply key test offshore. Or if the person already in Indonesia and then he wants to apply key test, this can be done on shore. So visa to visa cannot on shore.
Yeah. Okay.
Only
brilliant.
offshore.
Yeah, because I think one of my daughters, so the key test didn't, I think, go across in time for us to come back from a holiday.
Okay.
Because she is sponsored through her school. She has a school
okay.
visa or key test.
Student key test, yeah.
Yeah. So they recommended to get the visa on arrival to then swap into the key test.
Yes, on shore process. Yeah.
Because we were a bit stressed at the airport. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And what are the price points of these visas? Some of these visas.
Yeah, so basically for the price, if you want to have a cheaper price, directly apply by yourself through the immigration system. Because when you come into an agent, there's going to be an agent fee, and it's vary from one to another.
Yeah. Is it easy to do yourself though? Would you recommend people do that?
For visa on arrival and single entry visa like C1, the applicant can do it by himself through the immigration system. But when it's come to the extension, I think it's going to require a sponsor. So that you have to contact the agent.
Need an agent.
Yeah, to do this.
That makes sense.
And with the visa on arrival, what if the people work remotely? Can they work while they're here on that visa?
It's a little bit tricky, but I suggest if you have visa on arrival, it means purely your activity is only for holiday, spending money, chilling at the beach.
Yeah.
So people hear the word kitas all the time, and it can be a bit confusing. What does kitas actually mean, and what is it?
Yeah, so when you have a kitas, it means you have a temporary stay permit in Indonesia. Depends on what type of your kitas. If it's investors, it means you have a PTBMA, your shares must be mentioned on this at the certain amount on your company's deed. Working kitas means you work. And with these two kitas, investors and working, you can sponsor your spouse, providing with a marriage certificate, and also can sponsor the kids, for family kitas. There and the remote kitas, we already discussed that. This is for someone who have been working for overseas company but stay in Indonesia. So it means he is not allowed to receive or generate income from an Indonesian company. It must be from the overseas company to his bank account.
Yeah. And with the investor key tests, like you're saying, so the person that is, I guess, investing in the business, how is it working? If they're working in the business, do they then also need the working key test on top of it?
Yeah, sometimes people mixed up about it. So when you have investors key test, means you are the investors. You don't have the work permit, like the one we discussed before. It means you are not legally active day to day at the office or do the actual works, unless you have a working key test as a director. Then every day you come to the office. With investors key test, you can also have a meeting like twice a week, but not every day be present at the office.
Yeah.
What about retirement visas?
Retirement kitas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, kitas.
Yeah. So retirement kitas, now the requirement from immigration, this is for someone who over 60.
Over 60,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So when someone come to me and then I want to apply retirement kitas, the first question that I ask, sorry, how old are you? Or may I
Yes.
see your passport
Yeah.
first? Yeah. This is also considered as kitas in Indonesia, but with this you cannot like selling goods or services. Same. There is no you are not allowed to get income, just only for the retirement
Yes.
phase
Mhm.
in your life.
Yeah.
So on the retirement KTAS, if the person has income from their home country, then say investment properties or shares, and they use that here, is that okay? Does that get flagged?
Okay. So as long as the source of income is coming from overseas to his overseas company's bank account, and then you have retirement kitas, like what I said, as long as this is not coming from you are selling goods or services or you work in Indonesia,
In
this
Indonesia,
is still acceptable.
Yeah.
Because when someone wants to apply retirement kitas, there is certain requirements that needs to be fulfilled. Like he has to provide his personal bank statement equivalent with 5,000 US dollars. Yeah. To show that he has financial stability to live in Indonesia.
So they need 5,000 in their bank account.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
5,000 US dollars or equivalent.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. A question that I always see is, what is an EPO and when would someone need one?
Okay. So EPO is a cancellation of your kitas. If you don't want to continue to have that kitas or if you want to change from one kitas to another. This IPO technically can be done while you are on shore. We process the EPO on shore and then you leave Indonesia, or we process once you leave Indonesia offshore.
Yeah.
So there is a differentiation.
Okay.
Basically, we're gonna need the flight ticket. If it's processed on shore, we need the flight ticket, copy of the passport, and then we process the EPO.
Yeah.
If it's offshore, the applicant must provide with the boarding pass, e-boarding pass, and same passport and the ticket.
Yeah. Okay.
And what is the length for the key test? So is it a year, 2 years? Can you get 5 years?
Okay. So yeah, 1 year, 2 year. If example, if you apply a key test for 2 years, so it means before it's expired, you have to extend it again if you want to continue to have the key test with the same validity. So from 2 years to 2 years, cannot like from 2 years to then change it to 1 year. So it has same must have same validity.
Can you keep extending and extending? Is there a limit?
It actually depends on you. If you then want to have a permanent stay permit and then you have the investors kitas, you can extend it twice, so resulting 6 years, and after that you can apply for permanent stay permit.
Okay.
And is that the KTAP?
Yes, correct. The
Okay.
KTAP. And for investors kitas, once you want to apply the KTAP, you need to adjust your personal shares in the PTPMA. So it's going to require more than 10 billion.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it's 15 billion.
Yeah. And this is in Indonesian rupiah.
In Indonesian rupiah. So it's a
To
lot.
clarify. Yes, it is a lot.
So what happens if someone overstays their KTAS? So they don't renew it and they're still here.
Okay. One of the most things that foreigners do. I mean, when you overstay for 1 day, you have to pay the fee. Like it's 1 million per day. For me, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think when someone has a KTAS or even the visa, please own your permit. So like you can check regularly when your visas will be expired. But if you don't mind to pay the overstay fees, that's fine. But if you could prevent for not paying it, that will be great. 1 million per day.
My husband is in charge of our visas and he's just the worst at remembering. And I always have to remind him. Thankfully, I have it saved, but Yeah, I think the first year it was probably 2 weeks out, and I think you have to allow
2 weeks?
a month. No, we didn't overstay, but we
okay.
just had 2
before.
weeks to like
To
the
extend
process.
or renew
yeah,
it.
and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to take over.
Then Swift.
Yeah.
Sue you.
So you get flagged at the airport, do you? And they make you pay to leave,
yes,
essentially.
yes,
Yeah.
the payment must be in
Yeah.
cash before you depart from Indonesia.
Yeah, there's like an
Yeah.
office there.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Many people are in
Yeah.
queuing.
Yeah, and queuing
a few
just for
people
paying for
there.
penalty fees. I mean,
Yeah. And also remember, if you get a new passport, you have to
Yes.
update your details.
With your kitas, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. We
Yes.
had a mistake there.
Same
Yeah.
here. We're at the
Yeah.
airport.
You guys
and
have a
they're
new
like,
passport?
Patrick
did,
hadn't.
yeah.
There was something to do with he got a new passport, but hadn't put the kitas on his new
Yeah.
passport. We got to the airport ready to leave for the UK.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is not attached to this. But they let him go back home and get the old passport.
Oh, okay.
And we
got
made it just in time for the flight.
Yeah.
And they let him use that, even though
okay.
it wasn't
As
valid.
well.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
passport changing, address changing, you
Yeah.
should do, we called it passport mutation. Hi.
Sorry if my cat comes on.
Yeah. So yeah, we have to do the passport mutation and address mutation, Hannah, and it only can be done on show while you are in Indonesia. Contact your
Yes.
agent to do it's really easy to do that,
Yeah.
the passport mutation and address mutation, just to make sure that all of your personal data is compliance.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easily to forget.
And just another thing, actually, with a spouse. So, what if someone comes here and they marry a Balinese Indonesian? Do they get can they get a spouse?
Spouse, yeah.
Kitas? Yeah.
So the spouse kitas will be considered as a family kitas.
Yeah.
The differentiation will be who's going to be the sponsor. So if the person married to Indonesian, the sponsor of his kitas will be the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as you guys still married, you still can
Yeah.
keep the kitas
Yeah,
for yourself.
okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So that moves us into, I guess, businesses and PTMA.
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions from listeners about setting up business here and what's involved, and it can be quite complex and expensive. So,
Correct.
what would you recommend?
For now, if you want to set up a PTPMA, I think it's pretty much easy to find the information on the internet itself. Like the very basic requirements is you have to provide like the authorized capital of your PTPMA is 10 billion, which the paid up used to be the same 10 billion, but now the requirement said that for the paid up capital, 2.5 billion of the 10 billion is suitable to set up a PTPMA. That's in terms of the capital. And then you have to know what type of business that you want to open in Indonesia, because there is a limitation for foreigners, for foreign investment company to run the business. And then yes, minimum 2% as a director and commissioner.
Yeah.
Setting up a PTPMA in Indonesia means you already ready to accept the regulatory changes for whatever it may be. It means that you have a commitment to run the business and also have the commitment to do the obligations of the company, like tax reporting, investment reporting, monthly or annual tax report, something like that. And to enforce the locals.
Yes.
And then to hire the local
you
staff.
have to hire a minimum.
Minimum
people.
10, starting with 10 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
To do the contribution to the Indonesian government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring it back to Bali.
Yeah. Would you say it's easy to start a business here, or it's quite complex?
Actually, it depends with at what time you want to set up a company and your business type, because some of the business requires additional approval from different ministries, I can say. So it really depends.
Okay. And what mistakes would you say you see most often from people
for setting up a PTPMA? Maybe one of the simple mistakes is that the address of the company, because not every not every address in Bali is allowed to do the business.
Okay.
So it's going to be related with more like notarial things. You have to check your address of the company before you register the company at that location. Simple check like due diligence check, just to find where the zone at. And then, of course, to find out whether the land that you will lease or the property that you will lease is legit. Is there any tax errors on the land and building tax? Something like that.
And what if they are running just a small business? So it could be like a PT trainer, so sport trainer, and they do lots of video content, and they have a few people come to their house to teach them. They should still be getting this, right?
Yeah, for the PTPMA running the business.
Correct.
Yeah, sometimes also clients is asking for us, but like this. But Anya, I'm not gonna set up this big business. But in Indonesia, when it's for an investment, they will be classified as a large investment. So that's why the authorized capital is 10 billion minimum. It's different with local company.
It is expensive. So I think people don't want to do it because they maybe don't have that money at the moment.
Correct.
And they want to start.
Yes.
But they should be doing it.
Yeah, agree. Because this is not like what you say your activity is. This is more like how the government sees it. So it's different point of view.
And so what could happen if they don't have the right structure?
Yeah, of course. This is not legal for them to run the business, which in the end, they're going to gain income. So if you don't have an entity in Indonesia, you are not allowed to run the business, to get the income in whatever you say your company is.
And I feel like in the last maybe 6 to 12 months, there's been a bit of a crackdown on illegal businesses. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, for the property.
A lot.
A lot.
So are there any government departments that do check on businesses to make sure that they're following what they're meant to? I know when I was at my hairdresser once, these people came in to check, I think, their tax records or something.
Yeah. So basically it starts with the system itself. When you have PTPMA, it's a mandatory to do the investment report on the OSS. So when you're asking, is there any governments watching what people do, they will start from the system first. Because if you already never do like investment report through the OSS, it will activate that alarm to send you the reminder through the email, like administrative reminder until the sanctions that you will receive in your email of the company. Other things in terms of like building permit, for example, the PBG and SLF, I think like local police, what we call it in English, like Satpol PP. They do the checking through the property, whether it's already have a building permit or no, or who lives on this address, something like that.
Cool. Well, that kind of takes us into property, because people ask us a lot. People want to buy property here and invest. Tell us a bit about that. Can you explain initially the difference between freehold and leasehold?
Okay.
And if foreigners are allowed to obtain this?
Yeah. So basically, the leasehold is when you have a lease right on the property for 25 years, or you extended it again for 25 years. Leasehold, for your residential, you don't have to have a PTPMA for that, unless you're gonna sublease it again to someone else's and take something from that. Then you're gonna need a proper structure. For freehold, it is only for a PTPMA with AGB title, or if a person has a KITES, it will be granted as right to use, if I'm not mistaken. Hak pakai in Indonesia. For a KITES holder.
And so with a freehold, it's generally longer than 25, but you don't own it forever.
No, you don't own it forever. Freehold is like the period is longer than the lease itself, but it doesn't belong to you like forever. For free.
Okay.
And is leasehold safe to do?
If it's just for residential,
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. As long as you don't rent it out without the license.
Yeah, correct. Before you jump into a leasehold, whether it's through the private agreement or notarial deed, well, normally if you go with the notarial deed, the notary will always do the checking, the due diligence check before you pay anything else. And in our experience as well, normally before you sign a lease contract, lease agreement, there will be like MOU, like a binding agreement. During once you sign the binding agreement, the notary do the checking of due diligence, and normally the landlord will ask for the down payment. Yeah, it will be safe if the payment of this down payment will be put on the escrow of the notary, and then release it once the due diligence check is clear, and then make the leasehold agreement.
Yeah. Can it be done without a notary? The
Sorry?
leasehold? Can the leasehold be done without the notary?
Yeah, that's called private agreement.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
probably not
Not
recommended.
safe. Yeah.
The strongest legal force is the notarial deed.
Yeah,
Use a notary. for sure.
definitely.
And we know there's something going on with Airbnb villas and needing to be licensed by the end of this month, March.
Yeah, 31st March.
What does this actually mean for foreigners renting out their villas?
Yeah, so it means now, I think those platform now really works with ministry, that they want to really have a clear list. The villa host. Now, all the villa hosts required to upload an IB.
So lots of our listeners are families, young families having children. If a foreigner has a baby in Bali, what happens legally?
Yeah, okay. So if the baby is born in Indonesia, there are some requirements that the parents have to do before applying family kitas for the baby. So the hospitals will give you the proof of certificate that the baby was born in Indonesia. And then you have to apply for birth certificate at civil registration office. And then when the birth certificate is released, I think this needs to be the parents needs to report the certificate, the birth certificate, to the embassy.
Yeah,
So
to
then
theirs.
to theirs.
Yeah.
In some cases, there will be need an apostille process to then make sure that the birth certificate that Indonesia released is the legal one.
Okay.
Yeah. Some translations will be needed to the language of the country of the parents, and then apostille it through the notary. And I think this will be needed to get the baby's passport. Once the baby passport is released by the embassy, we will then process for the family kitas. So the baby will have separate kitas.
Okay.
With the father, if the father is the kitas holder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that it can take some time for this process after the child's born. I know some friends and it's taken months. And you can't leave.
Yeah,
you
can't leave.
Really?
Yeah, well, they don't have a passport.
Well,
yeah.
Correct. But I don't know, you can use this video or not, but last time we processed the family kitas of the newborn baby. It takes like more than a month, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Unless like the parent can justify the reason why it takes so long, because it's gonna need the time to bring the passport to Indonesia through the embassy. Lots of documents required.
Kind of some rapid fire quick answers, I guess, to some of the things that people. What has changed in the last 2-3 years?
Yeah, one of the example is now for extending the kitas or visa. Yeah, it can be done online, but your presence is required at the immigration office to take a photo.
Yes, the biometrics, right?
Yeah, the biometric. So whenever maybe if you have an agent do the submission of the application, but at the given date you have to be present at the immigration simply just to take a photo. And that's all. And what's changed also, before nomad kitas cannot sponsor spouse or kids, but now
great.
really?
Okay, that's good for people.
Yeah.
It's a good option. So what's a legal mistake people make in Bali without realizing they're doing something wrong? So for example, driving a motorcycle here, you need a license.
Driving license type C. It has different type for driving license in Indonesia. If you're driving a car, it's A. If you're driving motorcycles, it's C. So no matter either you hold a KITAS holder or a visa holder, driving license can be applied by providing a passport and also the visas or the KITAS itself.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. Is it something I could do myself, or do I need an agent to help me?
I think better to have an agent.
Yeah.
Less stress for you.
Yeah,
I think-
totally.
Yeah, I
well,
went through an agent.
Yeah.
confusing otherwise.
Yes.
What is an SKTT and what does someone need it for? Because this came up for me and I was like, oh, what is this?
Yeah. So SKTT normally needed if the foreigner wants to buy a vehicles.
Yes.
The dealer will
This
ask
happened to
about
me,
it.
yeah.
So SKTT is like the highest level of domicile letter. It's issued from the Civil Population Registration Office. So the flow is you have the domicile letter first from your Banjar and then you apply for the SKTT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Have an agent also to organize
Yeah, and
that.
I did. I went to buy a motorbike. They're like, where's your SKTT? And I was like, I don't
What
know
is
if I
that?
have one. And then I checked. I did actually have one from before, but the address didn't match where I was now, so it didn't count. So yes.
Okay.
Do you need a specific key test to do that?
For
a
SKTT,
visa?
no. As long as you have the KITAS and make sure the address is your valid one, your current one, then you apply for
They
it.
don't accept
Yeah.
otherwise. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, we actually went through that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That brings us to the end. But one last question. If someone is planning to move here in the next 6 to 12 months, what would your advice be and what documents should they start preparing?
6 to 12 months.
Yeah, if they're coming in the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. So, wait, 6 to 12 months to stay in Indonesia or planning?
Or if they're planning to come soon. Yeah. I probably should say.
And they're going to stay for, I'd say, at least 6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months. Okay. With that, again, you need to know what the purpose, because the different of the purpose will define what type of the visas. For example, if it's only for tourism and he wants to stay longer in Indonesia, he can apply for multiple entry, D1. It can be valid for 1 year, 12 months, the visa itself, the entry permit. But each arrival will be valid for 60 days. So same like C1, 60 days, 60 days, 60 days, resulting 180 days, and then leave.
Yeah.
And then come back again, maybe on the same day with the same visa number to get another 60 days.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the pattern is like
so
that.
that's a good one if someone's just traveling here, enjoying a year.
Yeah. Rather than having a visa on arrival only valid for 30 days.
Yeah, totally.
Or paying more for a key test, I'm guessing.
Yeah, more for the key test.
Okay, brilliant.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah,
We've
of
loved
course.
having you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So much information for everyone. But if anyone out there has any more questions, please send us a DM and definitely answer it for you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.